So many of you are already very aware of the phrase we say all the time in law of assumption and manifestation world, and that phrase is circumstances don't matter. And you've heard that so many times, I'm sure that part of you really thinks you already know that or already are believing that simply because you hear it so much. It's like your ego has accepted it because you just hear that parroted so much. But a lot of you are not really embodying the deeper trust and relationship with the true knowing that circumstances really don't matter when it comes to your manifestation. The way I see a lot of you relate to circumstances don't matter is in a more superficial, like, oh, if something in the 3D is happening and I don't like it, well, that's okay, circumstances don't matter. I need you to go deeper than that, because this whole like flippantly just like, oh, whatever, circumstances don't matter, for a lot of you is just bypassing. Like you're not really addressing something deeper that's actually going to change that circumstance so that the 3D stops reflecting to you whatever that thing is that you don't like. So today I'm going to give you 2 success stories that come from clients from my recent one-on-one coaching. I've chosen these 2 success stories for today because they exemplify circumstances don't matter, and I'm gonna walk you through them so that you see what I really mean when I say circumstances don't matter is not supposed to be just brushing off the 3D. Circumstances don't matter is something you need to change within yourself. Like you need to change the way you are relating to circumstances. And again, this will make more sense as I go through these success stories and tell you what's going on here. But quickly before we get into it, I'll introduce myself. My name is Genevieve. In case you don't know me, I am a manifestation coach. I mainly operate in the realm of Neville Goddard and law of assumption, but I incorporate a lot of psychological, somatic, energy tools, things that I have found that have been very complementary and supportive of a healthy manifestation practice. So on this channel, I try to give you a lot of depth. I try to give you just that little bit of deeper understanding so that you get finally pushed over that edge to really trust how this works and how to do it properly in a really healthy way. A healthy way that actually gets you results, both internal results, that's the first result, and then obviously an external result. So if you'd like to work with me, there are lots of ways to do that. I have courses linked down below. I also have private coaching. I will say that the private coaching is booked out. That's how it is with me now. I'm becoming more popular, and one of the side effects of that is like there's limited time for private coaching. You can also join the membership portion of this channel. There's just all kinds of links and things to explore down below. So check that out. But now let's get into these success stories because they're pretty good. So the first story I want to talk about comes from a client that I had my first session with her maybe a few weeks ago, maybe even more than a month ago, but we had our second session recently. And one of the things we talked about in her very first session was that she had quit an old job and she got a new job, but she was having a lot of regret about quitting the old job and getting the new one. She was feeling like she made a mistake. She was kind of having buyer's remorse about jumping into this new job. And so she was really like in it, like just in her feels about, oh my God, now I'm worried I've just messed up my life even more because I took on this new job that I really just don't think is the right fit for me. And how do I manifest my way out of this? I just keep making bad decisions, blah, blah, blah. Like she was really caught up in the circumstances, obviously, and giving a lot of emotional credibility to the circumstance that she found herself in. So when she told me about that in her very first session, I gave her a very simple instruction to follow that changed everything when I talked to her just a few weeks later. I told her to basically start seeing the circumstance of this new job she has, to start seeing it obviously very differently. So I gave her an affirmation to say that was something along the lines of, this new job is so easy. It's such an easy stepping stone for me as I am about to be launched into my next great opportunity. I wanted to give her an affirmation that would completely change the meaning and the perception and the way she was relating to this new current circumstance that was in her life. Because it wasn't gonna change if she was going to continue to relate to her current circumstances like, oh my God, I've made a huge mistake. Oh my God, this new job is like not it. Oh my God, like I'm ruining my life and I keep making bad decisions. Like all of those thoughts that are spiraling into other thoughts, all based off of, again, just physical silly circumstances. And I am the kind of coach that I really want you to approach things, especially big things, like big life things, like your job, your career, your relationships, like big things that it's gonna be difficult for your brain to like make a really big jump too quickly, if that makes sense. So I specifically knew she needs to see her current circumstance very differently. And then once that opens up, then the next job that maybe is her dream job is gonna come in a lot more easily because she's releasing all of the resistance around this current thing that she continues to perceive in this really like trapped way. So the amazing thing is she did that. She took the affirmation I gave her. She was saying it to herself for the few weeks between the times we talked. And in this recent call I had with her, she was like, oh my God, Genevieve, you will not believe it. This new job that I was so dreading before is now like one of the easiest, like best jobs I've ever had. Like I can just do the minimum and everyone really likes me, everyone appreciates me. It's almost boring because I don't have to do anything and I can just totally be myself. It's like the easiest job where I just get paid just to basically exist and I don't have to put too much effort into it. I can just be myself. It was a completely different experience that she was having in the same job, but a completely different experience than the one she had when she was first hired and accepted the job. And as you heard me say in the affirmation that I gave her, I wanted her to affirm that she is acknowledging that this job is just an easy stepping stone, that this job isn't really a big deal. It's just like the perfect kind of landing place for her right now to make some money, but it's like not difficult, it's easy, it's just, she can just do whatever she wants, and it's the perfect stepping stone to what she really wants to do in her career. I'm highlighting to you that I said that because I think a lot of you are trying to bypass that part. Like a lot of you, maybe the reason you're so resistant to your current circumstances is you're not reframing your current life. And so it's really difficult for your dream job or your dream relationship or your dream whatever to come in because you're still in so much resistance to your current circumstance and you're still over-identifying to the way you're perceiving your current circumstances, because that's what she was doing. That first call, she was just, you know, talking a lot about, oh my God, I'm so trapped. And she was so identifying with, I've just made this huge mistake, and she was really just in it. She was in it, seeing it as like a mistake. She's trapped. She thinks everything's wrong now because she took on this new job. Imagine if she was still in that, like she was still in that kind of trapped feeling place. And from that place, she was affirming, no, I have my dream job. I have my dream job. I have everything I've ever wanted. I have millions of dollars or whatever. It probably wouldn't be very effective, because if you're affirming that you have your dream job, but at the same time, you're acknowledging that your current life is intolerable to you and you think you've made huge mistakes by taking on a job you shouldn't have, or that your current job's really difficult or it's really toxic or it's just intolerable for lots of different reasons that you're making up. That resistance, because that's what that is resistance. You staying in the story of like, this is the only way I perceive it. I perceive it that I'm trapped. I perceive it that there's no opportunities for me, blah, blah, blah. If you can't get out of that perception, it's gonna be super difficult to then get that dream job or to even see the steps to get to that dream job. So to go back to what I'm saying about how circumstances don't matter, this story right here, I hope is highlighting to you what that really means. When we say circumstances don't matter, we're saying you get to choose what everything means in your life, and you are responsible for treating yourself to higher meanings about everything. And that's how you get the flow going to eventually achieve maybe like the highest dream job ever. But if you are still really resistant and negative and just like badly, fearfully, or just negatively perceiving your current circumstances, you're not living in the truth of circumstances don't matter. You're still living in resistance to circumstances and giving your old circumstances a lot of mattering in their old meanings, because you're still reacting to them like, oh my God, I'm trapped, or oh my God, it's not working for me, oh my God, what have I done? You cannot do that. That's betraying the circumstances don't matter truth. You're not really acting from knowing that truth. Okay, next success story. So this one is about an SP. So I know a lot of you are gonna like this one. Of course you like the last one too, but this one is gonna drive home even more the juiciness of circumstances don't matter in relationships, and also drive home how you might actually be kind of fucking this up. And I mean that in a nice way. You're not really fucking it up. It's just that you might be not seeing it fully correctly yet. So here we go. We're going to get into it and you will see it even more deeply, even more clearly, what you might be doing in your own situation. So this next client, she is also one that I think I'd only talked to once, maybe. Yeah, I think she was also, I'd only talked to her once, maybe 6 weeks ago. And this was, again, our second call together. And in the first call, obviously she told me a lot about her SP. I gave her some tools and how to handle that. And then boom, we talk 6 weeks later and she's got some big updates for me. But in our first call, she was really identifying with his behavior. And this is something that is so common in people who are manifesting SPs, where you guys get really fixated on, well, we've been doing this for years and he's just kind of always responded this way. He always does this, or he never does that, and he's just always this way, where this is just what it is. And because you are so used to this dynamic, you've been creating it for years and years, often you don't even see that you're still giving a lot of power to, well, this is how it always is. Like, he always blows me off. Like, we'll talk for a week, but then he all of a sudden will blow me off after 1 week of talking again. And because you've seen that pattern so many times, you just keep freaking recreating that pattern again and again. You keep giving credibility to the circumstance of, oh, we would talk for a week and then he would ghost me for no reason. Or, oh, he never validates me, or he never shows me his real emotions. You get identified to that idea and you keep choosing to see your person in that way, because that's what you just keep glomming onto, and you keep over focusing on the circumstance of it. So of course you're gonna keep recreating it over and over again, because you are the one identifying with it. It's not about he or she or they, whoever it is. It's not about their behavior. It's that you keep making their behavior mean something about you in your relationship to them. Their lack of contact with you or the way they contact you, you keep over-identifying with that circumstance and making it mean something about you in relation to them. So this particular client, she was doing her own version of that with her own things about her SP that she was really just fixated on. And again, I think it'd been like years that they've been doing this merry-go-round. So in her case, I coached her on a different technique, and that is a technique that utilizes the process of inner conversations. If you aren't aware of what inner conversations are, it's as simple as you go within, you call in the energy of your person, and you have a conversation with them. But I gave her a very specific homework of how I wanted her to have this kind of conversation with her person, because in her case, I knew that it would help her to detach from her current circumstances, to find a new outlet in which she could talk to her SP in a very open and honest way and actually start experiencing the kind of communication and validation and emotional connection she was craving from her SP. She needed to find an in for that, a technique that would be an in for her to give it to herself. As you guys know, you hear me say all the time, the way we manifest is we give ourselves a new experience, a new story of what we're trying to manifest. So in her case, doing an inner conversation felt like it could be a good in for her to actually experience this new relationship to her person. And what do you know? So I hear from her last week in our session, and her SP reached out of the blue. They had been, I think, in no contact for maybe a couple months. I'm not totally sure, but it was like a while that they were in no contact. And not just like no contact, it was like they would see each other in public and ignore each other, like that kind of a no contact. So no texting, no calling, and like kind of stonewalling in public. But she started doing these inner conversations in the way that I had instructed her to. And within, I think she said just a few weeks, he reached out to her. And not only did he reach out to her, he was being totally different. Like, she was telling me that he was suddenly opening up emotionally in ways that he never had before. He was really engaging with her, and very consistently. It wasn't that kind of hot and cold thing she had with him before, where sometimes they would chat for a little bit, but then he would just randomly disappear and she wouldn't hear from him for weeks. It wasn't like superficial conversations. It was like really like there was that emotional connection that she had built in her inner world, in her 4D and 5D world. She was finally starting to build that emotional connection with him. She was ignoring the circumstances. She was completely like, I'm not going to keep giving credit to these old patterns, these old circumstances that I keep seeing in the 3D, and so I'm gonna ignore that and go within. She did that, and relatively quickly, within just like a few weeks, he fully came out of no contact and is having completely different conversations with her. After years of a different pattern, a more negative pattern where it was just like never really coming together very well, after years of that pattern, she really quickly changed the dynamic with just doing one simple technique of consistently having these inner conversations. So this is huge, you guys. This is why you cannot be living in the world of the 3D reality, even when you have so much proof of how it always is and what's always going on, and oh my god, it's so difficult in the job market over here, and oh my god, my SP over here is always just being whatever. You will not manifest anything freaking different if you keep justifying your current 3D reality, and you're justifying it by constantly describing it. That's reaffirming it by saying this is how it is, and oh my god, this is so bad, and by giving all these emotional labels to it and reacting to it in that way. That's really what reacting to circumstances is. When you are reacting, it means you're seeing something and reaffirming a meaning about it. You cannot do that anymore. Why would you manifest something differently if you're constantly reaffirming everything that you're seeing? And I know it's also so true for so many of you, because I've had hundreds and hundreds of clients, and it's just so common that a lot of you don't even know that you're doing it. Like, a lot of you are just so used to being in your little world where things just kind of always are the way they are. Like, sometimes you don't even realize you're making big assumptions out of things that you think are like the hard truth, but actually no, they are assumptions. And the only reason they feel like this is just a big hard truth in my reality is because you are not questioning everything you're thinking. You are just getting swept up in that old habitual conditioning you've probably had for years, and it's just so normal to you, it's so comfortable to you. You don't even question it. You just keep assuming, yep, this is the truth. This is what it is, and I see it right here, and that means it's really, really truthy because it's physical. To be an amazing manifester, you cannot do that anymore. You just can't. This is why we put a lot of emphasis on you have to detach from all of this noise out here and realize that none of it is you. All of it is just old shit that you've agreed to, old shit that you have thought of in a very meaningful way and then reaffirmed when you saw it. If you've got things in your reality you don't like, it is your responsibility to stop giving them meaning. Stop giving them credibility. Stop giving them power over you. And there's a lot of ways to do that. Like the first success story I gave, it could be as simple as just reframing the circumstance so that there's no more resistance. The whole thing changes, and then you're able to go to the next step and affirm the next thing. Or in the success story of the woman with the SP, you need to realize you got to stop talking to your SP in the way you do. If you're mentally always arguing with your SP and mentally always chastising them for they always do this or they never do this, and you're always in your head like, why are they always like that? You are talking to them, and they are mirroring the way that you're talking to them. You have to talk to them differently. Talk to them like they really are the person, the man, the woman, the person that you know them to be in your highest love for them. Talk to them like they really respect you and you really respect them. Like there's nothing but love between you. If you're in your head not relating to your person that way, how could they ever really show up for you if in your head you keep reaffirming that they don't show up for you? And you keep going back to all the physical proof of like, yeah, they didn't do that, or yeah, they did do this, and oh my God, like, well, I don't know when's gonna change, they're such a dick. This is the deeper meaning of circumstances don't matter. I hope this makes sense, because I really want you guys to stop, again, in this kind of like superficial way, just sort of bypassing, like if you see something you don't like, you kind of don't even want to think about it or even try to reframe it. And so you just sort of like try to be like, no, whatever, I don't see that. Circumstances don't matter. But usually you're not really changing anything because you're not really taking back your power from that circumstance by interacting with it in a different way, or interacting in a different way with your manifestation despite the circumstance, if that makes sense. A lot of you are still being affected deeply by your circumstances, and you're kind of not being fully honest with taking responsibility for, I am so powerful. I'm the only one responsible for me to step into my power, and I'm leaking my power to every circumstance that I keep reaffirming is shitty. I can't manifest a different circumstance if I keep reaffirming that these circumstances are so shitty and I'm a victim to them and I don't know why things don't change and oh my God, I'm trying so hard and things don't change. Because you're giving a lot of power to your current circumstances. Even after you've heard circumstances don't matter Probably a million times. You keep sneakily in your mental diet going back to let's give some power to that circumstance and let's keep thinking about it as if it's a really big problem or as if it's like never gonna change or as if it's so difficult and I've got the worst circumstances or I've got the rarest, most weird circumstances. Stop doing that. You have to completely detach from this and be like, all of this is just an old game I used to play a long time ago. I am a completely different person now. I have a different identity within myself and I have a different way of relating to freaking everything that pops up in my reality. I don't react to things that pop up in the same way that I used to. I don't give things the same meanings I used to give them, and that's really what reacting is. Are you giving the thing the same meaning you used to always give it, the same negative meaning that things aren't working out for you or whatever it is? Are you doing that? Or are you giving everything in your life a different meaning, or at the very least a neutral meaning, a truly neutral meaning? Because of course you can also do that when it comes to your circumstances, but a lot of you aren't very good. I'm sorry to laugh, but some of you are not very good yet at being entirely neutral about certain things, and so maybe just doing the reframing could be a better in for you, but it really depends on you and what it is that you have trouble being neutral about, genuinely neutral about. Okay, I think this is good for today. I know you got a lot out of this. I know a lot of you needed this little kick in the butt because it's so easy to slip back into old thinking. I know, like, your brain is conditioned to think in certain ways, and when it's really used to always thinking about certain people, certain places, certain things in a very particular way, your brain easily goes back there. And that's why we have this term mental diet. The mental diet is all about being very mindful and just aware in a compassionate way about what am I thinking? What am I giving meanings to today? How am I reacting to things? And again, reacting just simply means what am I giving meaning to when I see something? How am I giving it a meaning? You have to get very mindful about the way you're thinking in of course, a compassionate way. The mental diet is not a way to beat yourself up or get mad at yourself like, oh no, I'm still thinking in a bad way. That doesn't work either. Do not beat yourself up for giving things old meanings. That's still you being an old crappy identity. So mindfulness of your thoughts does not mean beat yourself up because you're having certain old thoughts. It just means that you're noticing them and being like, oh yeah, I don't need to think that way anymore. I don't think that way anymore. I'm totally giving that thought to God. I'm not even entertaining it. I'm not engaging with it. I'm neutral to it. I can just say okay to it and just give it to God. So you have to practice this kind of focus if you don't want to slip into old ways of thinking. But mental diet is for another video, so we will talk more about that later if we need to. But for today, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Any questions, thoughts, just things that are coming up for you as you've watched this video. And as always, I'm really, really proud of you guys. Just the fact that you are here tells me that you are making great progress. Because on this channel, the people that are on this channel are the ones that really are deepening in their true power. They're not doing just ego manifestation stuff, really tapping into that deeper, deeper, true, healthy power that's actually going to change your life in really big ways. So I am very, very proud of you for being here, and I will see you guys in my next video.